Hi, I'm Mitch Gallagher. Welcome to Sweetwater's iOS update. This time out on the update, I've got a new app from a major DAW manufacturer, and I've got a tech tip on preserving the battery life of your iOS device. Let's get started. There's been a lot of speculation as to which of the major DAW manufacturers will be the first to support the iOS program with a native app. Well, that company is Steinberg, and the app is Cubasis. Now, if you're a Cubase user, Cubasis is going to feel very familiar to you. The look is similar, the way the controls are laid out is similar, and it has a lot of the same features as Cubase has. The number of audio tracks you can record with Cubasis depends on the iOS device you're running. For example, Steinberg says with an iPad 4 you can get up to 64 tracks, as you can with an iPad mini. Cubasis supports both audio and MIDI tracks. In audio tracks, the resolution is 16-bit 44.1 kilohertz, and with the MIDI tracks, you can drive either the internal instruments that come with Cubasis, and there's a wide variety of those in here. You can drive other apps that are running in your iOS device, or you can drive external MIDI keyboards. Now, each track can have up to 3 insert effects. There are 10 effects available: reverb, delay, an amp simulator, a flanger, so a variety of different effects there. There's also 3 send effects per track, and you can draw from that same pool of 10 effects. So you can have reverb, delay, chorus, the amp simulator, and you can access all of those from any of the tracks using a standard send-return kind of thing like we'd see in any mixer. Now, once your tracks are recorded into Cubasis, you can edit them and work with them to fine-tune them to what you need for your arrangement. So with a MIDI track, for example, we can double-click on that. It opens up a Midi Editor. It's a standard editor, as you'd see in any DAW. And up here we have a toolbar that gives us options for drawing in new notes, for undo. We can also transpose, we can quantize. So we have all the MIDI editing functionality that we need. Shifting over to an audio track, we'll close up the Midi Editor. We'll double-click on an audio region. We can zoom in horizontally. We can also pull things in tighter. We can use the control here to determine what we're looking at within the track. We can also pull over our start point. We can trim that by hitting the trim control. We can also erase from the track. We can reverse the audio file. We can fade in, we can fade out, we can normalize. So if we click on that, the entire track will be normalized. Now, of course, we also have our undo functions and things available as well. So we can undo the normalizing, we can undo the trimming, and get back to where we started. Over here on the left side of the screen, we have our track display. So if we choose this, we have what the track is. This is a rock drum kit, for example. If we click on that, it opens up our instrument selection, so we can choose what we're working on there. We have control over some of the parameters that are available. We can shift through the different instruments also by using the plus-minus keys. Here we have our insert effects. We can open those up and take a look at which ones are available. There are 10 available there. And we have editing available for those as well, so you have access to the parameters. The send effects work the same way. So we have the 3 send effects there. You can turn them on and off for each track. You can determine how much of each track is feeding into each of those effects as well. Next up, we have our channel controls. So this is where we have our fader, we have a record button there, we have mute and solo buttons. So you can see their overall controls for each of the channels individually there. Down at the bottom, we have our Midi connections, and those can be set so that they're working with external devices, internal devices, or other apps that are running inside the iOS device. And we also have a mixer screen. So we can pull that up and we can see all of our channels, scroll through the different channels that are available. We can do our mix there. Now, if we're on a MIDI track, we can click the keys or pads button. When we do, it will open up drum pads in this case. We can also change that so that we have a keyboard display. Whether we're playing a synthesizer or drums, we can do it either with pads or with keys. The final screen is the media browser, and when we click on that and open it up, we can access our audio files, audio loops, those sorts of things. We also have MIDI files here. We can manage our instruments that are built into Cubasis, and we also can manage our projects here. But one of the most important sections of the media browser is the mixdown screen. So when we click that, we get a screen here that lets us create a mixdown, and that will do a stereo mixdown of our entire project. So if we click that button, we'll have the option to mix down to a WAV file, to an M4A file, or to a MIDI file. Now, we can also choose to mix down just a certain portion of the song. We can choose to include all the effects tails, so the reverb tails will be included. And we can also set this up so that we have separate files for each track if we want to have a multi-track mix that we can then import into Cubase on a computer. Now, when we do our mix down, once our file is mixed down, it shows up here in the mixdown screen. This is it right here. We can play it from this location. But at this point, we also have the option to share this, and that allows us to export into a variety of different places. So we can email that file to ourselves, we can send it to Dropbox so that we can access it on our computers, we can open it with another application. So any of the applications that can support a direct import from Cubasis will do that. There are a variety of them installed on my iPad here. We also can use audio copy to make a copy of this and then import it into other apps. We can also send it straight to SoundCloud, and you also can use iTunes to transfer files back and forth as well. So we have a lot of options for getting the files we create in Cubasis onto other platforms, whether it's another app or whether you want to take it into your computer to do further work on it. What I really like about Cubasis is how easy to use given how functional it is. It has most of the features that you'd find in a computer-based DAW, yet they're implemented here in such a way that they're easy to use. The user interface is very friendly, very fun to work on. I've had a good time using Cubasis to make music, and I think you will too. I think it's a good thing that we're seeing a major DAW manufacturer coming over to the app world and creating this app for an iOS device. I'm sure we're going to see the others following right behind, and that's going to be a good thing for all of us. The other day I was working on my iPad, and what kept happening was the battery kept running out. I'd have to recharge the iPad more often than I normally would. I couldn't figure out why that was, why the battery life had changed so dramatically, and then it occurred to me. The day before I had turned up the brightness on the screen because I was in a dim environment. So once I'd realized what the problem was, it was a very easy fix. I just went into the settings menu, chose brightness and wallpaper, and went up here to the brightness slider and pulled it back to a more normal setting. When I did that, the battery life came right back to where I expected it to be. So if you have a dramatic change in the amount of battery life that's available in your iOS device, one of the first things to check is where you have the brightness of the screen set. Thanks for joining me for this episode of Sweetwater's iOS Update. Be sure to tune in next time. We'll have more apps, we'll have more hardware, and we'll have more tech tips on making music with your iOS device. I'm Mitch Gallagher.